we went to Island in Scotland. There was a whiskey festival there.
Nice.
And I took 5 days to go there. It was the time where you didn't get like 3G there. And I came back and I remember that I had 1,592 emails.
Crazy.
I realized that it was too much, and I went to the CEO. Then I said, I'm done. And he just said, yeah, of course. He said, Pedro is going on gardening leave. I did mark all my emails as read.
Delete.
I left.
Oh.
I need to find a job.
Again.
So I typed gambling plus therapy. Those are my 2 main skills.
Yeah.
And there was a job that was head of gambling therapy. So I applied and I got the job. I was gambler. I spent all this money. I stole this. The police was chasing me. I did a lot of drugs. I repented myself, and the judge didn't send me to jail at the end. It sounds pretty rock and roll. What you did, you get a story, and then at the end, okay.
Hi, Pedro.
Hi, Simon.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have a chat with you.
Another episode of the Safer Gambling Talks. Today, Pedro Romero Franco, right? You have a middle name.
Because in Spain we got 2 surnames. So
right.
Romero is my first surname.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from my dad, and Franco is my second surname. Comes from my mom.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Okay. So back to work. Your current occupation. You mainly work as a iGambling consultant.
I do several things.
Several things, right?
Yeah.
Consulting, and then BetBlocker, the chief of strategic partnerships. If I'm not wrong, how exactly?
The chief of Safer Gambling Partnerships.
Safer Gambling Partnerships.
At BetBlocker, yeah.
Right. Yeah, we'll be talking about it later.
Awesome.
But these 2 roles, basically, that's the main stuff that you are doing. But as a matter of fact, you possess a unique set of skills or experience in the gambling industry, which I believe, and I also believe that many would agree with me, you are very, very well positioned to harm minimization, basically decrease of gambling-related harm, because you are a trained, you are a graduated psychologist.
Yes.
You have a lot of experience with treatment of individuals. You have worked for several big operators as a head of safer gambling, developing safer gambling programs on the industry. You have worked for the charity sector, again, helping people. And also now you have experience as a researcher in the field of gambling-related harm decrease. That's a quite unique set of skills. I'm very happy to have you here, and we will be going into that one by one or gradually. I wanted to ask you at the beginning, so you started as a psychologist, then you worked for some time outside of the industry for some company, I don't remember what it was, and then not soon after you graduated, you jumped into the gambling industry.
It's a bit more complex than that, because the way that I end up in the gambling industry was a bit random, because I trained as a psychologist. I worked a little bit as a psychologist in Spain, but then I moved to Brighton and I started working for IBM, so nothing related with psychology.
IBM, that was it, right?
Yeah. So I was in charge of the tech support for Amex. So was one of the clients of IBM, and we were in the Amex building in Brighton.
Yeah.
And then they decided to move my team to Poland, and I needed that job, so I just applied for random jobs, and I ended up working in the gambling industry. So it was never a conscious move.
That's awesome. I had a similar story.
Yeah.
I came across a listing which has, at that time, I didn't even know that the company is doing stuff around online gambling. I just came there, and here we are. So, you knew when you applied for the job, right? That it's going to be gambling.
I did know that was gambling, but it was like, look, I need a job, so I can't be fussy. They were quite keen and quite impressed that someone that was working for IBM because I was never a super tech guy, but I was good, like being in the middle. Okay, somebody explain me the problem, like really technical. Say, okay, can you explain it plain to me? And then I will explain it to IBM directors and Amex directors that they were non-tech. So it was a bit like the middleman sometimes. And then I moved to Marathon Bet, which was a company that was mainly working with Russian and Eastern European gambling countries and people. And I did really well because I was really like a lot of doing different process and things.
Yeah, so it wasn't connected with responsible gambling at that time, right?
No, I was head of operations. So I was in charge of first customer support.
Customer support, did I remember?
Yeah. And then I used to have like a chief operating officer, Jason. He was really good and was a really good mentor. And every time like a head of a department was going, is, oh, Pedro, why don't you take the payments team? And I said, Jason, I don't know anything about payments. Oh, don't worry, you learn. But you're really good with people.
Yeah.
And that was my main skill, is that I was a good manager. And I didn't know how to do the job, but I will have some team leaders, managers, and I will ask, how do you think we should do this? And then the other person, how do you think you should do that? And then, oh, this person said this, what do you think? And then I'll get something in the middle. The problem is that because I was doing well, I end up with 5 big teams. I think was payments, risk, even marketing. I don't have a clue of marketing, but I was managing like social media teams and all that, customer support. I asked, to have a safer gambling team. I don't know if it was back 2012 or 14, and the owner of the company say, okay, you do what you want, because it was like just a wealthy man, and I sort of told him what do I wanted to do, and the guy said, how much is going to cost me this? And said, yeah, fine.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great because it's with many companies, and you better than I, it's like you need to get a buy-in as a person in charge for the responsible gambling. Like, we should do this and we should do that, and then you will have to propose and show the case which would be profitable for the company. So because of the integrity that you had and the trust which your manager had in you, then it was quite easy to get this. And it's like it's one of a kind. It's one of a kind story, isn't it?
I mean, it was really, because it was the owner. So I have this idea that I want. It was quality assurance and player protection team. They would be doing a half quality assurance and half player protection.
Right.
Just okay. The owner have I don't know, like, because he have like, apart from the gambling company, have multiple different venture like banks, airlines, and all that. I explained him what I want. The guy thought that was a good thing and said, okay, do it.
So why did you move to the gambling therapy, Gordon Moody, head of gambling therapy? That was your next stop, if I remember correctly.
That was my next stop. I think it was a bit of 2 things. The first part was because I was a bit tired, because I had 5 big teams. So I remember that I went on holidays with my wife. We went to Islay, like a small island in Scotland. There was a whiskey festival there.
Nice.
And I took, I think, like 5 days to go there. And it was the time where you didn't get like 3G there.
Yeah.
So I went there and I came back, and I remember that I had 1,592 emails.
Wow.
On the day that I came back, like 5 days later, 1,592 emails.
From whom? From players?
From everyone in the company. Pedro this, Pedro this,
it's like
Pedro that.
Internal emails, not like external.
Internal emails.
That many internal?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I went to the CEO and I said, because at the time I was during the days I was working in the gambling industry, but then at the same time I was working as a therapist for the Rock Clinic, and also as a therapist in Sussex University. So I was having like a 80 hours job plus being a therapist. So I realized that it was too much, and I said, Stan was the CEO back then. I said, hey, Stan, I'm done. And he said, okay, do you want to serve this? And I said, oh, can I go on gardening leave? I said, yeah, of course, you can go on gardening leave.
Gardening leave after like 5 years of working.
I think it was not 5 years of working, was on maybe like 3 or 4 years. Gardening leave is you have your notice period.
Isn't it like a, how would they call it? Gardening leave, there is, I cannot recall that. Sabbatical. Is it the same?
No. Gardening leave is because you have a notice period. For example, if you want to give your employer, you say, I'm leaving.
Yes.
So, okay, there's 3 months notice.
Yeah.
Gardening leave is when they let you have your notice period at home.
Right.
So you don't have to go to work anymore.
And they still pay you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I said, Stan, can I go on gardening leave? My notice period. I said, yeah, of course. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? I said, I don't know. Speak with HR. I said, Stan, can you send me an email just saying that, okay, that you're happy for me to go on gardening leave? And he just said, yeah, of course. He said, Pedro is going on gardening leave. And then I went to my desk. I did mark all my emails as read.
Delete.
And then I said, bye, guys. So I left. And then...
Weren't you afraid that you won't be able to get another great opportunity like that? Because how you describe it, it almost sounds like a dream job. I mean, like, you were good in what you were doing. You had a boss who was really appreciating and which would basically say yes to almost anything. Some people would be anxious about it, even though they would be feeling like they are struggling.
I didn't know how good I had it, but at the same time, I was working too much. And I also, at the time, I just wanted to focus on being a therapist.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I love being a therapist. It's the thing that I love the most. And I said, okay, maybe I can just stop being a head of operations and just be a therapist. And on the, I think like a week later or something, or a couple of weeks later, I said goodbye to my job. We found out that we were expecting a child. So I was a bit, I need to find a job.
Again.
So it was like a couple of weeks later, okay, I need to find a job. So I typed in I think back there it was like on InfoJobs or something like this. It was gambling plus therapy. Because I thought those are my 2 main skills. Yeah. And there was a job that was head of gambling therapy at the Gordon Moody Association. Yeah. And they were looking for someone that was a clinician and had experience in the gambling industry. I said, I'm sure that there's no one. So I applied and I got the job. So that's I spent there, I think was like another 2 or 3 years.
And how was it? I mean, at what stage the gambling therapy was when you started?
I mean, when I started was quite messy because most of the people that they were working there, they were ex-gamblers. They didn't have much or any clinical training. So the main problem was that there was no much boundaries, that you have a person that is trying to help. Yeah. But sometimes you talk that you have a problem and the person, I had the same problem. And they start talking about, this worked for me. And sometimes they will disclose too much about their own life and was a bit unhealthy. And they would do things that they shouldn't do, like maybe... sometimes I thought that they were crossing some boundaries without going into much detail.
I think I know what you mean. Like, I mean, what has worked for someone in their experience doesn't have to necessarily work for others. Yeah. And if you have the proper education and training, you could put out stuff which are like, I'm not sure if it's the right way how to put it, more in general. And so you go through the stuff which should work and not necessarily provide just one path, like as it is with someone sharing their own story.
And sometimes, because I do see the value in expert by experience. It's very valuable. Of course, and there's people that they prefer that. But sometimes when you have someone that is a clinician, you're an expert by experience by 1,000 stories or a couple of hundreds. Okay, you not only know your own story. Yeah. Maybe like 200-300 stories or other stories that they are different in similar ways. Okay, that I don't know, it's like a chef that knows how to do like one dish versus maybe a chef that can make many dishes. Maybe they're not as
Perhaps
snail, but
it is like I have a good example for that. I'm in touch with the guy with lived experience. So basically, we got in connection because of the global self-exclusion stuff. His name is Charlie. He was like sharing his basically story. It was part of the campaign. And now, what he does, I consult stuff with him. He is active on our forum, but what he is saying, like therapy won't help you, because it didn't help for him, and because he's gaining the benefit from his story, he would tell this, right? And it's all right because it's his experience is important, but it doesn't have to necessarily work for everyone. Like, who would put out advice that you shouldn't go to therapy?
This sort of thing, I mean, may work for some people. Some people may say,
Exactly.
"Oh, don't go to the doctor. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know, eat."
Look at the video on YouTube and you can do it by yourself.
I think sometimes it's a bit risky. It depends. I think probably a lot of experts by experience will tell you, "Oh, therapy was very helpful.
Yeah.
I'll recommend you to go to therapy." But I think sometimes you can get some dangerous advice, or sometimes it can be even a bit glamorized. For example, it's like, "Oh, I was a gambler. I spent all this money. I stole this. The police was chasing me. I did a lot of drugs. I did all that, and then I repented myself, and the judge gave me didn't send me to jail at the end." I said, "Okay, it sounds pretty rock and roll what you did." Sometimes, I don't know, like maybe say, "Oh, I got sent to jail, then I got stabbed, and I have to clean the toilets." Maybe it's, "Oh shit, I don't want to do that." But sometimes when you get a story and then at the end, okay, it was really this, but my wife or my girlfriend forgive me, and it feels a bit like, okay, so if I was 17 and sometimes tell me that, it's like, okay, maybe I can do the same, but I won't make those mistakes. So I think it's about giving a balanced view and not sometimes a bit too romanticized.
Yeah.
I do like when you have experts by experience that they are quite grounded, that they didn't steal $1 million. They say, okay, maybe I spent 2,000 and I got in a lot of trouble. Not a lot of people have access to hundreds of thousands.
So from what you're saying, it sounds like you were one of the few people there which have these, like, not the training, again, the proper education into being a therapist already with experience, and you acted as a head of gambling therapy. So it sounds like you were setting up the structures on how the things should be.
One of my focus was to get people that they were clinically trained.
Yes.
To help the expert by experience with some counseling techniques. Not everybody needs to be a counselor or a therapist. Sometimes you just need to learn a few techniques to help people. You don't need to go too deep, but how to listen, how to give some...
Right, and we are talking roughly, 2016?
Yeah, I think something.
So how gambling therapy was providing help at the time?
Gambling therapy was an online service that was worldwide.
It always was, right? It was just online, nothing physical.
They had the Gordon Moody have a residential project, but gambling therapy was the arm of Gordon Moody that was providing therapeutic support worldwide.
And that was the original idea.
Well, that was what it was sort of when I got there. Then afterwards, I think it changed to do like sort of the pre-screening of people that they wanted to apply for the residential treatment. And then I think like 2-3 years ago, it closed. People were made redundant. The therapists, many of them, they joined during my time, because the team that I created there, I think it was pretty much like 6-7 years. Most of them, they stayed. It was a shame that they closed the project. I heard that they may decide to reopen it now that the levy is finishing, and maybe they need to find some additional sources of income, because in many countries there's nothing. There's nothing.
Nothing. That I was sad when that happened, because
I was very sad.
That was the only, and to this day it is. I mean, it's not anymore at this moment, but the only support provider in different languages worldwide.
Yeah.
So you would, I mean, how would it work? So you would be able, let's say I'm struggling. So I'm struggling. I am from, I don't know, South America somewhere. There are no infrastructure for help. And can I talk with someone?
Yeah.
could have I at the time talk with someone in gambling therapy like, what should I do? And someone would.
We had a Spanish person, for example, back then. I would go to operators and ask, "Hey, can you sponsor this therapy part time?" So, and on the helpline, we'll say, "Okay, we have a person in Spanish during these hours. We have a person in Arabic these hours. We have a person." And I was good, and I was going to the operators and asking them, "Would you sponsor a part time?" A therapist, or counselor during these hours. So that was a good project.
Right. So I guess that it stopped because of the funding, right? Just when you think about it, it's very difficult to get money to be helping everyone around the world. So was that the case?
I decided to leave at some point, not because we were not getting funding. Because
I mean the international help stopped, and I guess it was because of the funding, right? There was no money for providing this kind of help. It kind of makes sense, because if you have a charity which is funded by the UK money, then.
But that's not, for example, gambling therapy wasn't funded by UK money, because back then, I remember the CEO of the charity, I was not allowed to compete with GamCare. Sort of GamCare would be providing for the UK, and gambling therapy is international, because just a bit not to create waves. So I will ask operators for funding from their international budget. We will have people from the UK that for some reason they rather speak with us than with GamCare sometimes. And I think it's important to have choice.
Yeah.
You cannot just say, "Oh, we only have vanilla ice cream shop. You should have vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate." And you say, "Okay, I went here. Maybe you had a counselor, you have a person on the helpline that, okay, was not the best day, didn't help." And then you say, "Oh, it didn't work for me. I'm going to try something else."
Yeah, competition is healthy.
Competition is healthy.
Fine. So, yes, going back to moving back on the operator side after like how many years? 2.5 years?
I think 2.5 years or something like that. I think I got a bit tired, because I think at the time I was it was when I wanted to start suicide prevention training, and there happened a couple of things. They didn't want me, or they were not very keen for me to provide suicide prevention training for gambling companies. I also had a little bit of friction, because I wanted to go like part-time, like have compressed hours, because I had a child, and there were moms that they have like compressed hours. So I asked to have compressed hour too. I said, "Look, it's
compressed hour means like instead of 40 hours a week, you would have like 30, 20?
Yeah, like 35 or something, and work, I don't know, like from 8 till 3 or something, like a shorter day." They were a bit resistant. But you're a guy. It's like, yeah, but and I just felt a bit like, oh, that was not very fair. I managed to get it, but I was feeling a bit like, oh,
in Brighton.
I didn't like that. I mean, they were in Dudley. I was working remotely before.
Right.
Remotely was trendy.
Okay.
And at the end I got it, and then the suicide prevention, that they were not very keen. I remember that I had agreed to train an operator, because we were getting funding by training operators. So in many occasions, because operators back then, that was even, I don't know if it was before Red, that they was, "Oh, we have some donations for what are you going to do in exchange?" So, "Oh, I can train your staff."
It might have been before, but there is a long history in submitting that. How much was it? Like 1% of the revenue? It was like almost everybody did that without much considering it. So I guess it was running even before that.
Yeah, I think probably was before Red. So I was a bit tired, and I had a friend that worked for me on my previous company, and he told me, "Oh, there's a chief operating officer that is struggling with his operational teams. Would you like to move to Malta and be in charge of operations? Can do a little intro." And I said, "Why not?" So we decided to go to Malta and
So you moved there?
we moved from Brighton to Malta. I think it was around 2018, and I stayed for a few years there. I worked for different companies.
Yeah. And how was it?
It was okay. Yeah, so it was okay. Moved from I think was JPJ. There was now Bally's. No, now I think they just got bought a couple of days ago by another company. And good. Then I moved to Gaming Innovation Group, which was a really, really cool company.
Gaming Innovation Group at that time, they were running gambling operations. Like they had a brand.
Yeah, they contact me because I think they knew me from my time at Gambling Therapy, and they got a fine. I think it was a couple of millions back then. And then they asked me, "Oh, Pedro, we need to sort out like safer gambling team and safer gambling. Would you like to come and work for us?" It was super cool because I went there. It was all super trendy and all of that sort of Google style company.
And that was already after COVID or before?
That was before COVID.
Before.
That was maybe 2019 till 20 or something.
So I'm curious, like, what has changed that time and today? Because the safer gambling agenda, it really accelerated after COVID. So there were things that were around safer gambling. Like, I wouldn't know, but at least that's what I expect. But surely there needs to be something different. At the time when you were working for the operators before COVID, like when the safer gambling agenda was not that developed, and now, like, how would you compare these two?
I mean, I think there have been some evolution, but I find that I think we got more regulation. I think regulation at some level is good, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword. When you're prescriptive, there's always a way around. And what you find is that sometimes gamblers, particularly people that are affected by gambling-related harm, they are incredibly resourceful. So if you put a block, I don't know, like in Germany, you say, okay, you can only spend 1,000 euros. They're going to find a workaround. Okay, they will have two accounts, or they will go to the black market, or if you say you cannot, in the UK during the pandemic, you cannot use credit card. They always find workarounds.
So what was the motivation at the time for the company to expand their responsible gambling agenda and to hire you if it wasn't the regulation?
Oh, because they got when I moved to gig.
Yeah.
Because they got a fine. Probably they probably.
So it was part of the regulation already at that time.
Yeah.
Right, but I would expect that requirements were like more shallow, if that's the right expression, than it is now. So I guess there was nothing really connected with like active monitoring and proactive communication and intervention, interaction.
There were some interactions before I joined, but an interaction back then was reading the questions of the PGSI to a player.
Right. So like looking at the results of what people have submitted, players have submitted as a screening. Answers to the PGSI. Oh,
they will give a phone call or during the chat they will be asking, have you ever spent more money than you can afford?
Right, so it was driven like it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was very robotic. Not only that company, but previous company, it was a bit robotic and say, okay, why don't you have a conversation and go through the same areas of question? Because sometimes it can be a leading question. If I call you and tell you that I'm from the responsible gambling team, and I need to ask you some questions, and I'm going to ask you...
You get scared.
You're like, okay, are you playing beyond your limits? You're going to say, oh, no, I'm fine. 3 days later, they're going to call you and say, I'm struggling with gambling, and you're asking me if I'm okay. Of course, I'm going to say that I'm okay, because I don't want for you to limit my account or close my account.
Do you think that approach or the reaction from the players have changed as well?
I think the players... I think it's a bit more normalized. People know that, okay, you may get a call, and you may have a conversation, and it doesn't need to be that hostile. The problem many times is that okay, people, they don't want to have a cold call, or they may not be a good time, or it's a topic that's still stigmatized. So I think having good training is super important to have a person that is able to interact with someone that is struggling with gambling. Addiction is very complex, even for someone that has, I don't know, a decade or 2 decades of training. So imagine someone that only had 4 hours of training.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's an ask.
Yeah, I mean, for me, surely the part of having the successful interaction is more difficult than looking at the data and trying to get the understanding of the data and have the proper assessment of whether someone is experiencing gambling-related harm, or what are the chances that the person is experiencing gambling-related harm. To have that kind of a ability to establish a rapport between the customers and the company, that's the difficult part.
The most important thing. If you can build some rapport with the person is going to tell you. If you manage to get some genuine rapport with the person, you have a chat, you say, hi, my name is Pedro, do you mind if we have a well-being check? You ask your security questions, whatever, say, hi, how you doing today? You have a bit of, I noticed that you're from Brighton, I used to live there, how is the Seagulls doing this year? So you engage with them, and then you start having a meaningful conversation about the gambling. Okay, how much you think you spend this month? Oh, I don't know, maybe 500? Oh, 500, let me check.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you spend 2,000. Wow, 2,000. Okay, you said 500, but it's 2,000. What do you make out of it? Oh, it's more than I thought I spent. Okay, what do you think we can do?
Yeah.
What, or do you know anything about safer gambling tools? Oh no, it's only for people that are addicts. No, like anyone can use the tool. Doesn't mean that. It's this sort of thing. You build rapport, and then it's easier to.
That's a good example that you put out. And what would you say to the argument that some operators could have, like, we do not want to talk with our players regarding responsible and safer gambling because they are not here for that, and we will scare them off. We would rather not go into these waters because we expect that they will be pissed, they will be upset by us talking with them about their spendings and their gambling.
Okay, I mean, like, I think, okay, this is a valid concern that an operator may say, oh, we don't want to be nosy with our players. They may feel uncomfortable about talking about stuff that have some stigma associated. And on top of that, maybe they're not confident that their staff can have a meaningful and conversation that you can talk about something that is a tough subject. So imagine that you have to talk about something that has some stigma with someone, and you don't have the training, or you have little training. Okay, you may be worried, oh, maybe my guys are going to mess up. So I understand.
Yeah, but would you say that is a valid argument, or, I mean, it's something that you just should find a way how to do it properly?
I mean, you can do it properly, but it's okay. Do you want to invest? Because a lot of people, for a lot of companies, say, "Oh, we're really struggling to contact players." Because I say, "Look, build a proactive chat like Revolut. You send them I have a problem with this, and then when there's somebody available, you get a pop-up and say, "Hi, my name is Mike. Can we talk now?" And it's the same sort of thing. If you build the tools, if you train your staff, you're going to make it easier. A few years ago, I think most of the companies, they have a 18% success rate, being able to contact people on a phone call that they were flagged by their safer gambling algorithm. Okay, we have this person that is being flagged. Let's send them an email to have a chat. Okay, we cannot contact the person, or they don't want to have a phone call, or they reply to the email saying that they're fine. So it's not easy, but if you build the tools and you train your staff, I mean, it's not going to be the easiest job, but it's going to be easier.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's not a legal requirement, I would still say that a few companies are doing it proactively, which
It's a legal requirement in some jurisdictions.
It is, but for many, it's still it isn't, and there's still there would be few which would have they would believe in it, and they would believe in the format of sustainable gambling, basically taking care of your customers and trying to proactively decrease the harm which comes from gambling, because then you can make sure or you can be assured that they will be spending money with you for the longer. But still, the regulation is moving the tides around what companies doing and what they are not doing. And perhaps we can do a comparison, a similarity. With your current occupation as a consultant, you do a lot of trainings. And now the question is, how many of your clients have it as a requirement from the regulator to have a proper training? And what portion of them is we want to have a proper training because it's the right thing to do?
It's a difficult question in the sense that, okay, you get companies that they take it really serious and they say, okay, we want to get training, we want to get consultancy, we want to have someone like you that if our head of safer gambling needs to have a soundboard or have somebody more experienced to discuss a case, can go and say, look, I have this, I'm not sure what to do because regulation says this, but there's other aspects outside regulation that is important, because you probably have I don't know, maybe 10% of companies that they may have a head of safer gambling that have some strong background, strong qualification. There's a lot of head of safer gambling. Or
where are they? This is one of the things that I think about quite often. Not only the heads of RG, but the RG managers. In the UK only, I would say that every company needs to have an RG manager. It is a requirement.
I think you shouldn't only have a safer gambling manager. You need a safer gambling manager, a head of safer gambling,
and this would apply
director
also for the companies in many other jurisdictions. But still, if you go to events, and you do go to events, you would see the same 20, 25 people all over again. Sometimes you would see some faces which it's not like you would know everyone, but I would say 80 to 90% of RG people have never attended a conference, have never been engaging in a discussion which would be okay, this is what we should be doing, this is how we could do it better, this is how we are challenging each other. And I wonder, why is that?
Why do you think it's that?
I think that companies do not see that much benefit, perhaps even a threat, to send their RG managers outside to be discussing stuff, perhaps even disclosing something.
I mean, in my experience, there's some level of apprehension to say, okay, shall we send this person? You get, there's, don't get me wrong, there's really some good prepared people that they are as qualified as I am.
I'm not saying that. I do not doubt these people. What I doubt, or what I have question with, why is the RG community so small?
I really think that I say, look, I think that probably 10%, and it's the 10% of each other, that you see them in events, you see them talking. There's people that they are a bit shy and they don't want to, and they're well prepared. But there's also a lot of people that they're not prepared and they just say whatever comes from the top. Okay, you need to do this, fine. And there's a lot of safer gambling rules that they are done by compliance people that, okay, they know the regulations, but there's some areas that they are not of their expertise.
Right. I mean, it's maybe just my desire to see more people around safer gambling.
I definitely want
the events
to see more people. Yeah.
Compared with the commercial ones, it's I mean, it kind of makes sense on one side. On the other side, it doesn't, because if you want safer gambling, or rather call it the decrease of gambling-related harm as a natural part of gambling, then it shouldn't be just the 5% of all the attendees from the conference and rest to be commercial. But on the other side, it makes sense because it's a business. The online gambling is a very collaborative industry. One company needs another company in order to do business. So, but still, I kind of wish that it was larger.
and I know that this is going to be larger. I think it's just about time to get there.
Yeah, perhaps it's going to be the part of this evolution of safer gambling. But let's talk about BetBlocker for a while.
Excellent.
And if we can get into your current occupation with the BetBlocker, so basically what you are responsible for or what you're doing, but if you could start telling me just shortly, how did you get connected to Duncan for you to start working together? Because like 2 years ago, Duncan was not very public person. He was not appearing almost nowhere, even with his LinkedIn activity, which is now pretty strong. How did you get in touch with Duncan? How does that happen?
I met Duncan when I was working for, I think it was Gaming Innovation Group.
Yeah.
And we were looking at different blocking software.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I wanted to offer. And I remember like asking for commercial options. And I remember that they told me, okay, if you want to have a commercial blocking software, you need to pay like 50K per brand. And I said, look, I don't have 350K. Can I buy just 1,000 license? And when I run them, when I give them away, I buy 1,000. Because if I have 350K, I probably will hire more people or do some stuff. And they were, no, this is the way we work. And so, okay, I'm going to look at the different options. So I met Duncan. I said, okay, how much does it cost BetBlocking? It's free.
Nothing.
It's free. And it's like, okay. And I'm like, we're a charity, but it's free.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I remember talking with them and said, look, if I go to the director of compliance and I said that it's free, he's going to say, okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll have it free. I said, can you tell me 10K? And he said, okay, it's 10K.
Yeah, free stuff is suspicious.
You know? No, I mean, I think sometimes it's suspicious when it's free.
I know what you're talking about.
But I wanted to help. And I said, look, they said that they're happy with 10K. You know, say, okay, let's give them 10K. But there's this sort of thing. And he's a really nice guy. And I think he's a bit apprehensive of asking for money. And I was really used to ask for money at gambling therapy because we needed to fund the charity. So I think when he heard that I left 888, you know, he asked me, oh, what are you doing? I said, no, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Can you help me raise some money?
and he asked me, okay, would you like to help us? I said, yeah, why not? So, and don't know, I think I have been like almost 3 years and a half working with him, and he's a really nice guy, and he just let me do whatever I think is right. So we agree on most things. Sometimes we don't agree on some things more, but it's okay. And I do really enjoy working with him. And over the last 3 years, he has become one of my best friends. So I do like.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So what's been cooking now for the BetBlocker?
Okay, so we are doing pretty well. So I mean, obviously the sort of red levy situation have been a bit choppy, and there have been a bit of companies in the UK holding back to fund, but despite everything, we get support. We're confident that we will get some more, but we are expanding massively. We just reached the mark of 100,000 active customers in the last 6 months. So it's not downloads, it's active players.
That's awesome.
That when they try to go on a gambling website, they get blocked by BetBlocker. So it's players that they are ex-players thanks to us. And that's one big milestone.
And also you're back, not sure if you were there before, Apple Store and Android Store.
We're there, we're there.
That's a huge success, I think, because
it's a huge success.
I mean, the app should basically take over your phone in some areas, and there could be a lot of insecurity with people installing it. So having it as part of an official store, for me, it's like it adds so much into that integrity for people. Like they are now more keen to install it.
I mean, that's definitely a thing.
Is it the case?
But I think our main strength is that that we're completely free, The main problem with a person experiencing gambling-related harm is that the minute that they are willing to install blocking software, probably they don't have a penny on their bank account. So you cannot ask them, would you like a 12-month subscriptions or whatever?
Yeah.
You know? And the second is that it's anonymous, so click and download. So in this day and age, everything gets hacked. Every week you get LinkedIn have been hacked, or the bank of this country have been hacked. So if hackers want to hack something, they're going to hack it. So we don't have any customer data, any user data. So if they hack our database, it's going to be me talking to Duncan. Hi, how did it go? The conference? Yes, it went really well. I'm going to make dinner now. Let's have a call tomorrow. It's be like two friends chatting about a small business.
Hackers will be surprised to find this kind of conversation instead of sensitive data.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yes. So you were saying that you had to adjust. I said that, but what you were explaining. So what is the current focus? I know that you are getting more languages on. I mean, like almost every month I see an update like that. So is there like, what is the trajectory of it? Like what is the thing that you want to focus on in order to expand it?
We want to keep BetBlocker, increase accessibility.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you find that in many markets, there's not much help. What we find is every time we translate it to a new language, there's an explosion of users.
Yeah.
We got Brazilian Portuguese. Okay, you get Brazilian users spiking. Why? Because, okay, you may have a lot of people in Brazil that they're struggling with English. Okay, they may understand it, but if you have to install something, it's important to have it in your language, particularly when you're a bit anxious, you're a bit stressed. So it's easier in your language. That's one thing. We're also focusing in the US market, where gambling is booming, and safer gambling needs to be there to help those that they are suffering from gambling related harm. They cannot only be like promotion on one side, there needs to be also the harm minimization side. So we just got a partnership with a California Council on Problem Gambling.
Perfect.
And we will be their official partner. So it's a bit like the equivalent of GamCare in California.
It's great that you're saying it, because what I was thinking when you were talking, like, language is one thing, but then you need some way how to let these people know that it is available. Like, people won't be Googling BetBlocker just out of the blue.
We're a small charity and we don't have a marketing budget like a private company that you can splash on Google ads or YouTube ads or anything like that, or put it in a football pitch.
Yeah.
So we rely on gambling operators to have a logo on the safer gambling section. Why? Because when a person that experience gambling harm, where do you experience gambling harm? In a gambling website normally. So it's the easiest or the shortest place to find the help. Okay, if you go there, or if you have it in the footer, you say BetBlocker. Okay, self-explanatory. You click in the icon, and it's really a short journey. Okay, click and download. It recognizes your device. You install it. 2 minutes. It's installed. We don't need your credit card details. We don't need to know where do you live. We don't need to know anything about you. We're just there, and we help you.
Yeah.
There's nothing infallible. Sometimes if somebody is really determined, they'll find the way. But it's creating a layer of friction to help someone that wants to stop or minimize, because we also offer the possibility of people using harm minimization tool, not only abstinence tool. So people can decide if they want to block themselves only for one day or Saturdays or...
That's very helpful, I think. I mean, then you are, if it's like the person capable of doing that, but you giving the power back to the person so they can manage it how they would want to use it.
I think trying to impose your own personal views into someone normally doesn't work. If I tell you, okay, if you have a problem, you need to stop gambling. okay, probably the person knows that, and you don't want somebody else to tell you. So it's a decision. Maybe you can just go there, you try a couple of days or a couple of weeks, you feel a bit better, you don't need to commit to buy a subscription forever.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, actually, this month was better because I decided to block myself. Actually, what? I'm going to block myself, or I'm going to block myself from payday till the 5th when all my bills are paid. So it helps to self-regulate my gambling.
Yeah, I think it's an important part of the journey. So we've discussed the therapeutic side, we discussed the industry side, now the researcher side. So you are going to be running trials for the psilocybin treatment of gambling addiction, gambling disorder, if to be put in the right terms. Tell me more about this.
Okay, so we are doing an observational study on a retreat.
So trial is not the right word for it.
Trial is when it's a clinical, like when you have a randomized controlled trial or you do it in a hospital or something. There's a lot of people nowadays that they seek psychedelics to help them with anxiety, depression, trauma, traumatic brain injury. And there's a lot of the research that suggests that it can be very helpful. Unfortunately, in many countries, it's still not legal. I think the Czech Republic legalized psilocybin a couple of weeks ago, so you probably need to have a check on that.
I don't know about it, but it was the part of the it happened in the 60s, right? End of the 60s, basically came from the US and then it spread out around the whole world. That was the time when they were getting, if I remember correctly, there was the time when they were getting very promising results from the early treatment of all kinds of different brain stuff, PTSD,
mental health issues. Look, something that it always have been there, like witches and shamans and all of that. Those are the medicines that people have used since the beginning of time. It can help you with pain. It can help you with multiple things. Have been used as medicine in different cultures. What we're trying to do, and why I'm doing this, is during the pandemic, I read a book of Michael Pollan that was called How to Change Your Mind.
Yes.
There's also a Netflix series about that. Was done a few years later. And I was, people were talking about, it was really helpful with my depression. It was really helpful with my OCD. It was really helpful for me to help me stop smoking. And I was, okay. In all my years working with people affected by gambling-related harm, what you normally find is that gambling, it tends to be like the presenting symptom. But what is under the surface is depression, trauma, anxiety. And what I thought is, okay, maybe if you can deal with the underlying issues, gambling will improve. So what I originally did, I tried to organize a partnership with Imperial College because they had a psychedelic lab, and I did ask for money to the Gambling Commission, but they were very kind. They had even a meeting with me. I put a proposal, but I think it was a little bit too far ahead because they were a bit like, okay, so you want to give drugs to
I wanted
gamblers?
to ask about that, but before, can you simply describe, because you were speaking about the underlying issue, right? I mean, I think it's the right thing where to look at, but what does psilocybin or other psychedelic substances, let's say like LSD, does to your brain scientifically, and how it should help with that underlying issue and ultimately help with the mental disease, in this case, gambling addiction.
Okay, so can I use a metaphor?
Yeah.
So imagine that sometimes when we have patterns of thoughts that they're very rigid, it's a bit like the same pattern is going through the same way. So do you ski?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I mean, I ride snowboard, but I know what you mean. Like when you do those.
Okay, so imagine that you're always skiing through the same tracks. The tracks are there.
Yeah.
So you want to ski off piste, but you end up. So what it does is a bit like it shakes the snow glove. So you get a bit of a factory reset setting. Okay, so you're always thinking in a rigid pattern. It helps you to think a bit more free.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened that is really important, because it's not only what happened to your brain, it's a little bit what happened to your soul. And I don't want to get a bit too hippie, but sometimes the person has a really powerful insights during the psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so you during the psychedelic experience, you may have some visions. You may feel connected with the universe, with everyone in the that we live for. We may feel extreme compassion for yourself, for others. You may revisit the time where you felt that trauma. You may be able to talk with the person that traumatized. So imagine that your dad was really harsh and was always talking down to you, and you have maybe he's dead now, but you have the opportunity to go to a place where you can talk to him and you can tell you that you forgive him and he forgives you, and you feel a bit like a leaf that waits. And then when you come back, you may feel that, okay, I don't need to do this anymore, or I don't feel bad, so I don't have to gamble to feel a bit better.
So if I understand it correctly, it's like two things. The one thing is that it allows different pathways to be opened in your brain. So you might have some patterns of behavior, some like things that you would react in a similar way. Like there is some distress, now you gamble. So it helps your brain to somehow break this pattern. And then the second part of it would be that you would go through this so strong experience that you would realize on that, perhaps the soul side, that, okay, I have the power and this is what it's causing it. So I now know what to focus on in order to get better.
Yeah, it's the first thing. It also demonstrated that increase brain flexibility.
Yeah.
So your neurons are more flexible to reconnect. It reopens the critical learning period. So, okay, there's times in your life when you're more likely to be able to relearn stuff. So it helps neurons to grow. For example, there's a lot of research on traumatic brain injury. So you have people that they have suffered from, imagine like a special operation, blast, or football, rugby players that they get hit in the head or get concussion. It seems the research suggests that it helps the brain to heal. So it is very interesting. So what we're going to do during the research, we're going to attend this retreat that is organized by a UK non-for-profit that is called the Heroic Heart Project. Normally they work with veterans, but in this occasion they will be working with veterans, with blue light services like firemen, police, nurses, doctors, and also with former sport people that they have experienced problematic gambling related harm, and they want to come for a week to the Netherlands. Is fully funded. They got a donation from a philanthropist, and the cost is covered. Normally those retreats are very expensive, and they can have 2 experiences of psilocybin during those 6 days, and they will have a preparation few weeks before the retreat. They will go through preparation with the Heroic Heart Project, and then they will have some integration. What I will be doing is I will be running some tests before, like psychometric interviews and all that, before, during, and after the retreat. So be able to track if there's some changes in depression, anxiety, gambling cravings, and other things. So we can see if this type of retreat treatments have an impact on people that they have been affected by gambling-related harm.
Brilliant. This is the first observation, that was the word, right? First observation ever on the psilocybin or psychoactive substance and gambling addiction.
Imperial College, they're doing, I believe, their own trial. You know, so but their trial is a bit more clinical, like sort of hospital. This one is a bit I think it's a bit more real world. If
Yeah,
people
yeah.
they're going to go to a retreat.
So it is like, I mean, the combination of the findings of these two are like the two of them. It's better than just to have one, because then you can.
I believe that the more research we have in this
Yeah.
area, the better.
Last question, when we will be able to see some results from it, and what do you hope is gonna come out of it?
I mean, I think the result may take, because I need to have a follow-up,
Yeah.
or I want to have a follow-up for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like, if I'm honest, is to have an additional treatment option
Yeah.
available. I'm sure that this is not for everyone. I'm sure that my mom would say, okay, it doesn't matter if it cures me my depression or my anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't want it because it's forbidden.
Yeah.
But for some people that they have tried everything and it didn't work,
Mm.
okay, look, there's another option.
Yeah.
It's only 4 hours tripping, or maybe 6 hours. It depends. But we trip every night when we have dreams, and nobody tries to forbid that.
Mhm.
And they'll be supervised and supported. So what I want is for people that they are struggling, and there are treatments out there that can be helpful, and it's showing that they're being helpful for
Mhm.
other disorders, that they have access to this.
Yeah.
Because I think not having this available, it's negligent, if
Yeah.
not.
I hope it's gonna work out, and I hope it will be like, if the results are gonna be appropriate. I think, like, saying that, it will become one of the options which is acceptable, because I think there is a big potential with it. I'm a big fan of the project, I mean, personally. So hopefully it's going to work out the way it should. And I think we need to conclude over here, because we are out of time. It was very nice talking with you, Pedro. As always, now one of our conversations got recorded. So thank you very much for being here and talking about stuff.
It was an absolute pleasure, Shimon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.